Hey guys, this is James. Just so you know, in case you didn't watch episode 0, this is kind of a spoiler review discussion of Hell House LLC, which is available on Amazon Prime or Shudder. You would probably get more enjoyment out of this if you watch the movie and then listen to this, but if not, enjoy the show. Hey guys, this is James and John Try Podcasting, episode 1 for this season. I'm James, with me is John.
I'm John.
You waved into the camera. We are an audio only podcast, so that's great.
Only? I thought this was going on YouTube at some point.
It will probably just be audio with our little icon, but
Oh, okay. Know. Ignore the wave. That was for you, James.
Thank you. I felt welcomed.
Okay, good.
And we are a variety podcast, so that pretty much means we do whatever the fuck we want. So, and with today's episode, which we mentioned in episode 0, I made John watch a horror movie called Hell House LLC. Now, I watched this one before for Halloween of 2021, and it wasn't my favorite out of all the films I watched, but I don't know, it stuck to me, and I kind of wanted to share it with you. So, how about this? How about you, John? Can you give us the basic plot of Hell House LLC, or the beginning of whatever, you know?
Well, yeah, the basic plot is essentially a group of friends have started a company where they make haunted houses every year, and they're making one in, what was the location?
Abaddon, New York.
Right,
which is like a small town.
And they're going to an actually haunted house. I mean, I feel like that's all you need to know. Like, things go wrong from there.
Yeah, the only real thing to know, it's like a 5-man group, 1 female, all white. And it's Abaddon, New York, which apparently they did a bunch of New York, like in the Bronx or Brooklyn, doing these haunted houses. And they decided to do it
Queens.
Outside the city. What was that?
Queens. They kept bringing up Queens.
Yeah. So that's the basic idea. And just so everyone knows, Hell House Inc. I keep calling it Hell House Inc. when it's LLC. Hell House LLC came out in.
Oh, sorry. Just last thing I wanted to know, I guess, was that they live in the city, it seems like, so that they were able to stay at home. So kind of the thing that sets a lot of the things in motion here is that they have to stay in the haunted house.
Yeah.
While they're there. Yeah.
Actually, this is a question I'll ask after I get through this because it just popped into my head. But Hell House LLC came out in 2016. It's about 92 minutes long. It actually spawned 2 sequels. So it's a trilogy. Hell House 2, The Abaddon Hotel, and Hell House 3, Lake of Fire. But here's the thing I didn't realize. I knew all that stuff, but I was looking for it on Amazon Prime, which is where this is available. Is that where you watched it, John?
Yeah.
And it's also available on Shudder, and Shudder is also where you can get the other 2 movies. I don't believe it's available anywhere else that I know of. But there is apparently a director's cut of the first movie that it came out in 2020, and it's 130 minutes long. Doesn't that sound ridiculous after watching the movie?
Yeah.
And you know, there are like some parts that are that could have used a little bit more explanation, which we'll get to later. But it's actually kind of a slow movie in the beginning, which is not a bad thing. Not at all, but
I mean, I don't want to get too far into it, but I guess I would have to watch it to know. But for me, it's like it can't support the running time because it just keeping it short was the smartest thing they did because it doesn't overstay its welcome. The plot doesn't really kind of hold it together for that runtime. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you really got to get through that beginning, especially. I feel like it gets good. Like, I really started to get into it after a point, but I was like, why is James having me watch? Well, I mean, I was having a good time because it was funny. It's a
Yeah.
me. I don't know if it was intentionally or not, but
No, I don't think it's intentional either. It's definitely has that kind of just enough indie while still being professional in a
hmm
weird way.
yeah,
Did you watch it by yourself or did
I
you
watched
watch
it
it
with
with your
Michelle.
partner? Okay. Um, do you watch a lot of horror movies? The only movie I know
No,
that you and I watch were like Cabin in the Woods, which was kind of
no,
more of a praise of horror films.
yeah, I don't watch a bunch of horror movies, but I've watched like all the ones that you would expect. Like I've watched all the Nightmare on Elm Street films. Freddy Krueger. I've watched all the Chuckies. I've watched Friday the 13th. So I've watched enough horror movies, but I don't like
Scream?
every. I've watched all the Scream. Yeah, I'm gonna watch the new one for sure.
I want to. I'm tired of all these people going like theaters only. Like fuck you. Put it on something where I can watch it.
Yeah, we got to have a conversation about that at some point. Actually,
Oh,
like maybe for the podcast. I don't.
maybe a podcast or maybe the behind the scenes, which episode 1 will be going up at the same time as this episode. So go check up our YouTube channel, which might be in the description if I figure out how to do that. The beginning of the film is like a documentary of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's like supposed to be like like for the news or if it's just like this separate kind of thing. It kind of feels like a separate kind of
I
thing.
have a question though.
Yes.
I mean, is the documentary supposed to be like we're watching a released documentary, or we somehow got like a leaked version? And the reason why I asked that, I'll get more into it later, but there's stuff that it says in the end, and I kind of want to go more in chronological order. That makes me go like, was this not released? Because what you're saying doesn't really make sense. You know what I mean? Um,
So that's the thing. Like at some point, it does that whole "we already got you." You're not gonna like. Apparently, the movie Jaws,
mhm.
like the exploding tank scene to kill the shark. Apparently, someone on that set. Apparently, that's not how it happened in the book. And someone on the set was just like, "No one's gonna believe this. No one's gonna believe that thing explodes so much." And that was Steven. What's his last name?
Spielberg?
Yeah, Spielberg. He went. You know what? I had them for the first 75% of this movie. I'm gonna have them for that last 5% too, because their disbelief is already mine. So it kind of has that element, but afterwards you start thinking about it, it's just like, yeah, it is. I don't think it was released, or if it was released, not to the what we would have saw, I guess, because it doesn't make too much because there are shadowy figures in there, you know? There are some like fucked up the last part pretty much kind of like how do you even get the footage of that last part, you know?
Yeah. I think we just need to start going through it because we're getting like cryptic and like
Yeah, yeah.
non-spoiler, even though we're gonna definitely get into spoilers.
So it starts up as a documentary. They're showing like the ambulance, the news reporting of the Abaddon Hotel, Hell House LLC. This was supposed to be an entertainment haunted house thing, and something went wrong in the basement. And the news, the police, everyone is pretty much silent on what happened. They're kind of saying it was a gas leak or something went wrong with one of the animatronics, but everyone knows it's kind of bullshit.
No, no, no. What everyone knows is that they don't know.
Exactly.
That's one of the things I noted is in the beginning of the movie, the words "I don't know" are said so many times.
Yes,
It's
yes.
hilarious. Even the people who are like supposed to be a part of like I helped investigate this, but I don't know. And then
Yeah.
like the person who was there, the exact line was, "You want to know what I think happened that night? I don't know." Right after the guy said, "I don't know."
Oh man, yeah. And you know what? It does a kind of good job because they had like actors to play like the historian. Apparently, like a photographer like broke into the building and took pictures showing like blood, like handprints on the walls, and even goes into like him saying like, "I got to the stairs of the basements and I pretty much put my camera down there, took pictures, and got the fuck out of there because no way in hell I was going to go down those steps. Like,
Yeah.
really? Okay.
Another thing I noted here, it's not a part of the plot. It's just something I wanted to put out there because she told me while we were watching the movie, Michelle punched a person at a haunted house.
So was it just a good scare, or was it just
She just got scared, and she just for some reason that was her reaction, and I was like, wow, that first off,
wow.
that's hilarious, but also fucked up. You went into the haunted house. That employee did not deserve that. But we were watching when shit was going down, you know, because the first clip is one that leaked onto the internet, right? And that's like all the internet has.
Something that went on YouTube, which by the way, all the footage is like from camcorders. And I think this is supposed to take place in like 2015, maybe like 2013. I'm just like, weren't like iPhones a thing by then? I feel like we should have been seeing, if this movie was made today, it would be, all that would be vertical.
A lot of it would be, but there's people who record, you know, who know how to use a phone.
Well, yes. Well, back in the day, we used to shame the people who did vertical, and now TikTok's a thing, and that we can't shame them anymore.
Well, what I will say is that despite, you know, using camcorders, whatever, I liked at least, it's not something that holds up throughout the entire movie, but during that like clip that is released to the internet that we're seeing the movie open with, essentially, you can't see shit. But I liked that. Like it was like, it kept it more mysterious and also made more sense. You're running for your life. You're not doing a good job of recording what's going on around you. You know what I mean? Like it's like bad angles and like falling apart and like, and I was like, that they don't do that in a lot of like, you know, hand cam horror stuff. It's like, it's too good sometimes, you know?
I believe the term is found footage.
Yes, in the found footage.
Yeah, no, a lot of time found footage is just like, wow, this person has a background in photography, huh?
Right. But at least, see, I guess later on in the movie, I guess you could chalk it up to he is a cameraman and that's why it's better. And like, you know, some people are like that actually, right? They're so used to recording all the time that no matter what's going on, like,
are we talking about with the documentary crew or with the,
right.
Okay. Yeah. Because the rest of the whole movie, because the guys who are hosting this haunted house, they're documenting it as well. And that camera work is shoddy at best. Oh, I have it written down. It takes place in 2009, apparently.
There was something about, they started their company in 2002, and this is 7 years in when they're at the Abaddon Hotel.
So yeah, maybe phones weren't as prevalent. But also, it's kind of weird to take like a fucking video camera into a haunted house. That just seems weird.
Yeah.
As they start doing this documentary, one of the surviving people from the Hell House LLC, her name is Sarah, I believe, and she comes in and she gives them video footage, which they send some guy to review it, but then they start questioning her, and that's when the movie kind of really starts, as it starts interlacing what they recorded at while, you know, starting this the Hell House, and also going between questions with the girl.
Yeah. And this is going back and forth between that and the footage. So we're like, it's interesting because like it's just I think that kind of works. Like it's like making you more confused because you're not getting any answers out of anyone. So that's one of the notes I have is Sarah's the worst interview to start.
Oh yeah.
Like she is totally useless. And that kind of gets explained, you know, later on. For a while I was like, even if you're having PTSD, like I feel like why'd you even come if you're, you know what I mean? Like what is this? But also like the guy, when they're going back and forth between the guys, I have noted here, because at first it was the first guy, you know, I think he was the one with the hair combed back or something. Actually,
Alex, the good looking guy, the guy who has the girlfriend, Sarah.
No, not in the group. I'm talking about the two people that they're interviewing that were like there was like the guy with the mustache and then the guy that's he's like, I don't know. The guy that keeps saying, I don't know.
Yeah.
But when the first guy came up, I said, "Guy being interviewed is a murderer, regardless of the plot of this movie."
Oh my
and
god.
then when the second guy came up, I changed it to all males being interviewed are murderers, regardless of the
Oh
plot
my
of the
god.
movie.
Oh my god.
But yeah, then
Well,
where do
the
you want to
movie
go from the Sarah
starts.
point? Yeah,
Well, the movie starts and it's them driving to the Abaddon Hotel, and you kind of see that there is friction within the team. I'm just gonna name three people. There's like five people of this team. There's Alex, who's like the company owner. He's the one making decisions. He's the one that I guess they bought the hotel. That's the thing I'm not sure of. If they bought it or whatever. Or if they just got permission to use it. But
I mean, they also could have been like, yeah, I don't remember. I really don't remember.
yeah.
So whatever.
That wasn't really spelt out. Then there's Sarah, his girlfriend, which that's great to have in your business. Um, and then there's Paul, the camera guy, or the main camera guy.
Yeah.
There's two other guys.
One of them is Mac, and the only reason why I remember his name is because, yeah, the only reason why I remember his name is because I was trying to pay attention to like little details early on to see if there was like any reason for them, or if I could get any information. And they had an argument outside the car, and Sarah's like, "Oh, yep, Mac and Alex always arguing." But the thing is, like, we don't know what they're arguing about. Like, it doesn't do anything other than, I guess, maybe to tell you like there's tension between them. But like, I don't really know what the purpose was.
Apparently, they were having a hard time like finding the hotel, or like
Yeah,
the
but
guy
like,
driving was like, where the fuck are we going?"
it didn't add to, like, I don't know. You could just that could have been a throwaway line inside the car. I was just like, why are they out? Because remember, they didn't just argue; they left the car to argue.
That's true. That's true. Well, they didn't want to have the argument in front of their coworkers, which seems to be a theme. Um, we'll get to that later, I guess. But there is tension, and it seems like Mac, if that is his name, if that is, he is like the best friends with Alex. And then here's the thing: I kept mixing up Mac with the other white guy, who I think might have been named Tony or Andrew or
Tony,
something
no,
like that.
Tony was the name. Yeah,
Okay, so his I kept mixing up those two. They looked so similar to me to the point I thought I had like face blindness. I'm just like, are you the same people?"
how much of this was improvised? I'm sorry. Do you know that at all?
I don't. I did not look into that. I wouldn't be surprised. There had to be some
Yeah, because
of
like,
it.
even this is, again, I don't know why I'm stuck, why that scene stuck on me for so long, but like when they're arguing outside the car, Sarah says, like, in the latest episode of why are Mac and Alex arguing? Mac and Alex arguing. I was like, well, that doesn't answer the question that you just said. Like, I need to know. But yeah, I was like, why would you write that?
Yeah, no, the better writing of that would be another episode of Mac and Alex arguing, episode 15 or
Yeah.
whatever.
Or just, yeah, just that they're arguing, not why. But anyways.
Yeah. But yeah, but you know, the weird thing is that made it feel more authentic because yeah, she's just saying shit.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like, so I was gonna say, in that, you know, to that point, like, they bring up Hitch and how it's like, I guess, an underrated movie, and I was like, facts. Like, they are right. Will Smith carries the hell out of that movie. It's great because of him, though. Like, if you put anybody else, it wouldn't work.
Right.
But yeah, that was good.
So you know, they are friends. There's some tension, but it seems nice. They get to the hotel, which is like was apparently abandoned, or it kind of gets more into the story. But I guess we'll get to it now. Apparently, the lore of the story is the owner there was accused of people disappearing, so he hung himself. And there's also like apparently Abaddon is this thing from the Bible, which is the devil who guards the gates of hell.
I don't know if we're going to get into it anymore, but I was going to say that's one thing that was kind of lame, is that it's like another. It's a satanic panic film, essentially.
I mean, yes, and it kind of gets into that because when they get to the hotel, it's messed up. And the Alex guy is just like, look at all the set dressing we already have. It's just like, bitch, you have to clean all this up and then put it back down. Like, what the fuck? But they get into the basement, which has like pentagrams and Bibles all over the floor.
Scary, just scary right off, right? Because satanic people, apparently.
And yeah, and but here's the thing: you can easily throw that away. Just be like, yeah, teenagers broke into the fucking hotel. They're fucking around, doing shit. Like
Yeah.
that wasn't creepy to me. The first like creepy part is the walkie-talkies, where the walkie-talkies starts making a weird chanting noise, like someone whispering into their ears,
Yeah.
and then it comes on, and they're like, "Oh, weird feedback. I don't know." It's like, what do you mean weird feedback? Someone was clearly whispering something. Like, I
Well,
want to take that audio, enhance it, and be like, what are they saying?
well, in fairness, I think that that's kind of realistic. Like, I feel like what was the main guy's name again? Sorry, I'm just blanking.
Alex?
Yes, Alex.
Or
So you know how he just kind of ignores everything through the whole movie.
everything.
I think it makes a little sense because I feel like if you're doing a job like that, your mind can play games on you pretty easily. So you kind of get used to like overthinking things. So then the solution is to just not think about it. You know what I mean? To just kind of like be like, whatever. Like this happens all the time. You know? I mean, it gets to an extreme with him, of course.
Oh yes.
but
yes.
But I'm just saying to the chanting thing, like you could easily be like, no, that wasn't what I heard.
Yeah. Or we got a radio frequency or something.
Something.
So pretty much they have a month to get this thing into shape because they get there at the end of August. So they got November into October. They take a week to get the electric up, and then they start staying at the hotel. And I have 26 minutes into the movie, which is where we get like the main creepy thing, where Paul, the camera guy, is in his bed with the camera facing him. It's dark in the background, but there's like a red light for some reason. Haunted house, I guess. And you just see like a figure walk into his room as he's talking to the camera. And first of all, Paul is very horny. He wants to fuck girls. He's saying like how Alex doesn't like to share
it's cringy.
Sarah.
That stuff is cringy.
Yeah, and that was the thing where I was like, what? I would have fired you.
Right. I mean, I guess the idea is, again, they're supposed to like, wait, when did he join? Because some of them are friends and some of them like started.
He was one of the hires.
Yeah, okay, so that it makes more sense that he would have been fired by now. Because if he was like someone they knew, it's like, well, he's always been like whatever excuse you can chalk up to it if he's your friend. But like this person you hired, you just let him be a creep all the time.
Yeah, because it would be one thing. It was just in that like vlog moment, but he continues it, and I guess it's like funny, but also just like, dude, take it down like 5 notches.
But that's the thing. I mean, I prefer him not be a creep in general, but like it should have.
Yeah.
If you're gonna leave that stuff, it should be funnier. There's like funnier lines they could have done, and it just was like. It was. I mean, but maybe that's his character, right? Like, I don't know why he wouldn't be fired. I guess maybe because it's like hard to hire a group of people who are just going to do haunted houses. Maybe I don't know.
Especially because it sounds like he also helped out with setting up cameras. He seems willing to help test out all.
He
the
knows
things.
a lot of the technical stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though he's not the tech guy, I think Mac was the tech guy.
Yeah.
The figure's in the back, and then he turns around. It's not one of those things where the figure comes in and then walks out, and he doesn't notice. No, he noticed, and he goes like, "Sarah."
He talks to the figure.
Yeah, like, what are you doing here? Or, is everything okay? And then it walks out, and it's like, that was weird. Like, what?
But again, the reason why he's able to do that is because they probably play tricks on each other all the time. He's thinking that's just one of my friends dressed up. Like, why are you messing with me? And then that's it.
I guess, and man, there's a lot in this movie. It's just like dumb white people. I should say this as a half white person. I look white, but I'm half white, and I'm disappointed in these white people.
I mean, it's a movie. It not just dumb white people in a movie specifically. Like that's the extreme.
So I have written down here: creepy camera guy, check; girl in underwear, check; and then dumb white people, check. That's what I wrote in my notes. Because like I think the next scene is literally he's walking to Alex and Sarah's room. And the door's kind of open, but she's laying in bed. She has a tank top and just underwear on, and you see her like ass.
Yeah. And he just creepily just continues and walks in and
Yeah.
he's like all up in their face after a point and just
Yeah.
being
And you know, the boyfriend Alex is just like, "Don't what the fuck is wrong with you?" blah blah blah. And he's like, "No, no, I came in here for a reason." And then he turns the camera to Sarah
I
again.
think he also said like you would like you wouldn't have left the door open or you shouldn't have left the door, something like that, right? Like that they kind of
Yeah,
invited it, and it's like, yeah,
which is creepy, but I also like, why is that door open? Like I don't know. Like I get they're a friend group, but even with friends, I close my door. You know, like I don't know. Especially when your girlfriend is like, I don't know. Like I don't have a girlfriend, but it just seems weird.
it was just again, it's just to continue that you know character. Like, oh, this is who he is. I don't know why that's why the way they wanted to make his character, because his character could have been funny. Like I feel like that the person who was playing that character could be funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just gave him a shit character.
But the thing is, kind of Paul is also like the main character because in a way, like it kind of shares between him and Sarah in a way.
Because we're seeing it from his point of view for most of
Yeah,
it.
but also it kind of goes from this happy kind of perverted guy who also goes on to like start he actually starts witnessing these things and starts freaking out and going like, "No, dude, this is
Something's
not
up.
right."
Yeah.
And and you know, you would think that would be a, you know, a red flag for everyone else, but I guess not. So he tells them the actors are here. They hire 3 actors, which seems a bit low.
By the way, I have that noted. I don't know why it annoyed me as well, but like, why did they have to be met outside?
Yeah, and it was raining.
That's why I was like, this is so weird. Like, you're making them hold umbrellas outside in the rain. I wouldn't want this job after that interview or whatever it was. Um,
I don't think that might have been like just a it must have been a weird thing like they went greeted them guy. I'd be surprised if they had the interview outside the whole time because it seemed more like, oh, he went out to greet him and then they see the guy taping them. And the 3 actors they hired was a older woman, a kind of big hefty guy, and this petite young girl
Not just
who
any guy, Joey.
Joey.
I
His
had
name
here,
gets said a lot.
yeah, and so I had a note here. It's just stupid. Joey holds this film together.
God. I guess. And it goes on like it gets stated that Joey is like was the sole survivor from the employees, but he hung himself like 2 or 3 days later.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into why, I guess, once we get to that point. But because I have another note for Joey, it
He sucks.
yeah, that's the other part. It says Joey holds this film together, and then it says Joey is a piece of shit. Like, update, Joey's a piece of shit. You were talking about when he was interviewing them or bringing the actors in.
The other like thing is like pretty young girl. So Paul, the camera guy who's on the balcony videotaping this, which he got some good audio from that, you know, for being
Yeah,
such far away. But you know,
yeah. Even with
whatever.
the rain.
And you know, you just see him like gain close-ups on this girl who I'm just like, she seems young. Like maybe hopefully 20, but for like a little bit I was like, is she maybe 18 or something? She seems young.
I think they probably wanted that because it was like, she kind of just went along with everything. So it's like, she didn't really know what she was getting herself into. Maybe she's like a little naive or something. And then she got stuck in that terrible situation. Because I feel like if you're a bit older, again, we'll get into it once that part comes. But like, yeah, you wouldn't just let
Well,
that even happen.
we can just say what their jobs were. The older woman was kind of the entrance introducer, like, hey, come on in, I'm creepy. Joey was supposed to be like muscle and because the ending part of the house is in the basement where they were going to have the girl, I think her name was Sam.
I honestly don't remember.
I think it was Sam, but they were going to have her chained up in her underwear in the basement, and they couldn't get cameras in the basement because the walls were too thick, which I would have been like, you run a fucking wire. Who cares if you can see this bright ass orange wire? You run a fucking wire. You don't do this to this poor girl.
Yeah.
But they're like, Joey would be down there with her all night with the key to the manacle. So if someone starts fucking with her,
But that's what I was about to say as well. Is why would you allow yourself, and why would they want to actually handcuff her with something that she needs a key for? Like,
and not only
that's
that, like
insane.
it's like manacles. Like
Yeah.
she can't move her hands. Like you could have done like
That's a safety hazard regardless of a haunted house.
yes, yes. But they, the thing is like if first of all, yeah, sure, the Joey part is good. There should be multiple keys for the handcuffs. Where Joey has one, there should be one kept safely in the control room, and I would say there should be one in the actor's hand the whole time, and have it be more traditional handcuffs like a cop's handcuffs, so she can lift up her hands, maneuver, and boom.
Mhm.
That would be the safest thing, and the fact that they kind of fucked it up in multiple ways. I'm gonna get to theories about why I think it happened this way, but it's fucked up. Safety was not the number one issue, and actually, we'll get to that later because I have it written down somewhere here. But as they keep going through, they learn the history of the Abaddon Hotel. Person hung himself, people disappearing, that bullshit. Nothing about the demons. No one knows about Abaddon being a demon in the Bible, which I don't
Right.
even know if that's true or not. Let's see, what do I have here? Oh, okay. So 40 minutes in, we get the real first, like, creepy scare, which was the clown. So they set up clowns in the basement, and they even say, like, oh, the clown heads can't move. They're mannequins. We can't get them to move. We don't have enough time or money to get it to do it, which sucks, but whatever. It's still creepy. So the camera guy is looking for one of the people, and I think it was Tony, and he's going through the house, and you're like, oh, it's creepy, and he's making jokes about the house as he goes through it. And then he gets to the stairs of the basement, and the clown mannequin is just standing there looking down the stairs. At first, he thinks it's his friend dressed up as the clown. Oh, haha, what are you doing? What are you looking at? And he starts looking down the basement, and he doesn't see anything. And then he comes back, and the clown is looking straight at him. And he's like, oh, whatever, good joke. Tell me when you're ready to work.
I think at that point, did he think it was a person until the head turned? And then maybe at that point, he was like, oh, like that's how they, like
No,
that
I
was.
think it was still a person because as he was walking away, he was just like, whatever, man, tell me when you're ready to actually get to work.
Yeah.
We have shit to do. And he's walking back. And when he gets back to the entrance, he sees the guy he was looking for, Tony,
Who
and
he thought
everyone else
was.
was in town.
Yeah.
So he freaks out. He runs back, and the clown is gone and is back sitting in the basement. So he shows that to everyone else, and they're just like, oh, how did you do this? Good prank,
Yeah.
bro.
They think
Good
he's
prank.
messing with them now. Yeah.
And it's just like, and the thing is, when he didn't admit to it, it's just like, how do you not go like, I don't know, would he really like keep it up for so long? Because he seems freaked out. He seems
Yeah.
genuinely freaked out about it. He plays that very well. And it's just like, man. But then they go back to day shit of getting the hotel together. They're showing how Joey can pop his eye out halfway, and I was like, fuck you. Don't ever do that again on
Yeah.
camera. It's really fucked up. I don't like eye stuff.
I'm surprised they didn't use that though as a part of anything. You know.
No, it was just like a cheap joke later where they had like a fake eyeball going like, oh, Joey did his trick again and it came right out. Oh.
Yeah. Well, I just mean like as a part of his job or something. Like you can do something freaky, not just
He
sit
was
there.
literally hired to be muscle though.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the thing. man, when shit like this is happening to your coworkers, like, come on, I would at least stop staying there. Because if shit's moving on its own, like, come on.
I mean, I guess the idea was they couldn't stop staying there, right? Because they used the money for that
Yeah.
place, and they're used to again staying home or something. But
Yeah, I mean, there must have been like a hotel. Be fair, if I was starting a business there, I would be going to every place and be like, "Hey, can we get discount coupons? Blah blah blah. You know, shit we can hand out at the end of the tour." Especially because they're like like it's a 30-minute drive from the city or something like that. So they could have maybe worked something out with a business, be like, "Hey, can you give us cheaper stay? We just need a room because sometimes being there is just too much." You know? But whatever. Um So the next scene I have written down is Paul is in his room. He does another vlog, and then he wakes up and turns on the camera, and you can kind of see him like trying to shake the stuff out of his eyes, and then you see a girl just sitting in his bedroom on against a wall, and it takes him a second. And this is probably one of the best scares in the because it's actually quite haunting because he sees the girl.
and it's not a pop-up scare. It's just the constant presence of the freaky
Yeah.
thing. Like,
It's not it's barely a jump scare because he goes like, "What the fuck?" He registers it's not Sarah or someone he knows. He gets under the covers with the camera, I guess. um, and each time he pokes his head out, the girl is like getting closer. And like the last one lasts a long time. And then he opens the sheet and she's right there. And it's just like, oh, I was just like, I had the book, my notebook in
yeah,
front of my face the
yeah,
whole time.
it scared me. But the note I have here is Paul broke cover rules, man. If you were ever a kid who hid under covers, you know once those covers come over, that shit's not moving until you wake up the next day. Like that, you tuck yourself, you make yourself a freaking, you mummify yourself. You know what I mean? That's it. Like that's it. I mean, that's the way I was, anyways, as a kid. I remember if I freaked out, the covers went around. I tucked every corner. If my parents looked, they would have been like, "What the hell's going on here?" You know.
Oh
But
my
that's
god.
it. You're done for the night. But he kept looking. It got worse every time. Like he wanted to die. That's how I feel about it. Like he's like, you know what? I can't take this tension anymore. Let me just.
Yeah. It was yeah, anyway, Paul disappears after that scene.
Was that like who was that girl though? Like was there a character that looked like that? Was that just a girl? Like I don't remember like seeing her before that
Like, are you talking about like actor wise or are you talking about like character wise?
either. Like what the
Um
hell?
I actor wise I thought maybe it was the interviewer. Character wise, I just think
The
it was a creepy
interviewer? You
girl.
mean the wait, you mean the one interviewed or the
No, no.
interviewer?
The one like the blonde girl who is Diana. Like as they're at the end when they're going through the house and that
Okay.
girl.
Oh
I thought
wow.
maybe it
Okay.
was her for a little bit, but
Yeah.
maybe not. We can probably check the credits, but I just think it was a scare because they already had like a bunch of haunted dolls and stuff in the house.
But I'm saying, did we see that as a was there a girl doll at one point
I mean, there
like
was
that?
multiple, but I don't
Like
think
that?
that.
Okay,
I
I
don't
don't know.
think so.
It's just because be up to that point they were using stuff we had seen other than the cloaked figures.
Yeah,
Like the cloaked figures. Oh, so that's one thing that needs to be said. So like throughout some of these scenes, like there'll be a cloaked figure that either they don't see or they briefly see and then it's not there. One of those things.
yeah.
But it's always a cloaked figure and it's always a thing that was not a part of their props or something like that.
I think I skipped a scene. There was a scene with the strobe lights that was actually kind of good too.
Was that
Um,
skipped? Or was that I think that might be after actually what you were just talking about.
I thought
It's
that was Paul that
it
was in
was
that
but
scene.
that's no, but that's why, right? So like at that point oh wait, it was Paul? No, I thought
I
they
thought
already had
so.
handed off the camera, no? Oh, so this was a
Maybe.
part of him losing his mind, a part of him going like shit's not right.
Yeah, because I remember him like Alex going like, "I'm sorry you got scared."
Oh, okay.
Like, fuck you.
Yeah,
Uh,
no. Yeah, so go into that cuz that
that was a good scene
it was a
because
good scene, not as
it's
scary, but it's just fucked up. Like it's like especially That's for me. That was the point where I was truly like, how do you not believe him? Then,
Yeah.
you know, because like, what the hell? How many times is he gonna do this?
Pretty much they're in this dark hallway. They have the strobe lights. There's like mannequins. There's like two of them. But as the strobe lights going, and because strobe lights fuck up like the frame rate on a camera, not fuck it up, but it shows weird.
Yeah.
You just see this person standing there and then disappearing, coming back, disappearing, and you start noticing it's getting closer. And the camera guy just freaks out, starts banging on the door. Let me out! Let me out! Let me out!
Well, before that, he says, "How many mannequins did we have here?"
Yeah, and they're
Because
like
he's counting them,
two,
and
three.
it's because because it's like more. Like it looks like it's becoming more, and he's just like, what?
Yeah.
And then yeah, freaks out. Bang. But why was that like why was that a room where he had to be locked in? Like again, there's just situations where I'm like, why are you doing this way? I mean, it's for the effect, but like I'm just
Yeah.
like, if you're actually running a business here, why would you do that?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is that door was supposed to be locked because it's part of the like
Behind the
backstage.
scenes stuff, like they don't
Yeah, so
want.
it's like you're not supposed to come back here. So we're gonna lock you in. You go through the tour with the camera, and we'll watch the footage later.
Okay.
But he freaks out, and he even throws up.
Yeah.
And again, like Alex, the company owner, was just like, "I'm sorry you got scared." Like, fuck you. Be a bit more.
Is that where he finally says that? Where he's just like done with them?
Yeah, and then I think the creepy girl thing happened, and then he disappears for a while, and they try to call his number. And here's the fucked up: they're complaining about this guy. I start feeling bad for Paul, a guy I was grossed out by.
Yeah.
I start feeling so bad for him because it's just like they treat him like shit. He's like, oh, he disappeared back in 2005, blah blah, for like 3 days. Of course, he's doing this again. It's like, first of all, 2005 and it's 2009. It's been a couple years. Second of all, it's just like you guys should just be worried about him in general, especially if he's starting to feel like having these things.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you don't believe him, you can at least be like, oh, maybe the stress is getting to him, or maybe he's having like something going on in his life or something. But no, they don't give a shit about him.
And I mean, it's all about Alex because they have a line
Yeah.
like that where it's just like they're just a loyal group, you know, to Alex. And I, I feel like that is the best explanation for them kind of all fall because like so really it's Alex is the asshole in this situation. And then the
Yes.
rest of them, like, yes, they're adults. They should have their own minds, but they are like followers. Like they're like they follow him. So like the way he goes, they go. And like I guess I don't know if he's supposed to be the smart one of the group or whatever. But I guess if he's not worried about it, they're not going to be worried about it. It's that kind of thing, you know?
So stupid.
Yeah, but that's kind of how they
Yeah.
played it, right? Like whatever he said,
Yeah.
kind of just was what everyone took.
So finally, like the guy who took up the camera, I think it's Tony. He's like, did anyone fucking call him though? And Mac and Alex are just like, no. It's like, here, take my phone, call him. Actually, I think he even goes like, oh, why don't you call him now? And it seems like they don't have his phone number, which is just fucked up. So he hands him his phone, which is like a little Nokia thing. They call him, and instead of like, it picks up, but then it's like a scream, and they drop the phone and it breaks. And they're like, what was that? And Alex was just like, you know what? I don't know, and walks away. So then this is where shit really gets bad, and I still don't understand how they don't leave at this point. Well, actually, it kind of gets explained, but we'll get to there. They like heard the piano playing or something, and they come out of the room. It's Tony and Mac. I think Alex is asleep or some shit, and they come out. They I might be mixing up a couple scenes here, but it's pretty much the same thing, so I'm just gonna go with it. They start looking for Paul because they think he's fucking with them because he was playing on the piano earlier. And as they get down there, the piano stops. They're looking around the room, and then the piano like does like one of those like someone slammed the keys,
Mhm.
and the only thing there is a mannequin. And it's just like, what
Not
the
just any
fuck?
mannequin. Hector. Hector's
Oh
vibing
god.
on the piano, man.
I forgot it had a name.
Paul named him.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah.
And then as they're like, then they find the clown just sitting in a hallway. They tap it to make sure it's a mannequin, which it is. They're like, who the fuck? So they move it. I'm definitely mixing up these scenes because actually what happens is they go down to the basement. And I have this written down. They go to the basement, and I think it's Mac who goes, be careful, you can die on these steps. And it's just like, that's a safety hazard for a fucking haunted house where people might get scared and like trip over themselves.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Anyway, they get down there. They're looking for Paul, actually, because they think he's the one fucking with them. And they all of a sudden the camera's on Mac, goes back to look at the 3 clowns they have, and the clowns are staring at them. Again, the mannequins, their necks can't move. So the camera guy freaks the fuck out. They hide in like a little cellar thing, and then they come out of it, and all the faces are facing correctly again. And then you see Paul next to the pentagram, I think, just up against the wall, and they're like, oh, Paul, what the fuck? What the fuck, Paul? Like, why are you doing this? And he's in a vegetative state. And this is why it's fucked up. They don't take him to a hospital or anything. They just pick him up and put him in his room.
This part was interesting to me just because I was like, well, first off, I didn't think we were going to see Paul again. So I was already like, okay. But then also I was like, it solves I feel like it made it more believable that they would move on with the haunt. Like, I know they were saying like, oh, fuck Paul. But like you said, that wasn't really satisfying. Like, you know, but it's like, okay, Paul's here, even though there's something clearly wrong. They don't do anything to help him. Like Alex.
No.
We're just plopping him in his bed. He's tired.
And then when one of the actors, the girl, who I guess maybe liked him, I don't fucking know, was just like, I haven't seen Paul. Where's Paul? And he's like, don't worry about Paul. He's just feeling a little under the weather. Like,
Yeah.
he's in a vegetative state, motherfucker. Then the next night is when they find the clown in the hallway. They test it to make sure it's a mannequin, and they try moving it back. And I'm like, how is no one questioning how it got there? You know, it's like right by their bedrooms. So they start bringing it back, and they notice
They still think it's Paul messing around.
I guess, but then they see Sarah in a room, and she's just staring at a wall. And as they go to and they get up to her, and she's whispering something, and it doesn't sound like her voice entirely. And then they try, Mac tries to be like, Sarah, what's going on? She freaks the fuck out, and he has to comfort her. I'm just like, what the fuck? I'm like, okay, this is where they have to end it. And instead, the next scene is Alex comforting his girlfriend Sarah. And I'm like, okay, this is where it ends. They go you know what? This is too much. At least stop staying in the fucking hotel. But no, they remain there. And then Tony gets in a huge fight with Alex about no, this is fucked up. This is actually haunted. What the fuck is wrong with you? I quit. Walks out, and Mac chases Tony down and goes hold on, at least let me just talk to you, and then you can decide what to do. And then it cuts. There's this random scene of Sarah walking in a field, and then it cuts back to Tony sitting in a field with tall grass. And he's just like, does anyone else know? No, it was just me and Alex. And it's just what is this scene? And it doesn't go into the full details, but pretty much it kind of alludes to that the company itself is bankrupt. And so they have to do this to, I guess, at least, not come out of this with debt. Which I'm just like, motherfucker, if you bought this hotel, fucking don't stay there anymore. Clean it up and then sell it to some dumb motherfucker. Sell it as a bed and breakfast. You know? What the you already have pretty much an electrician. They got the electric up in the house. And honestly, that might have been their plan to fucking do the Hell House and then make it into a bed and breakfast, and then just be put the memorabilia up on there and be whatever. That at least that would be my plan to make money out of this bullshit.
Mm.
But then Tony's like, okay, I guess I'll stay. Like, what? No, that's not your concern. You're an employee.
Yeah, right.
You if you want to be really nice about it, don't go like go don't go to the labor laws to get your last check if you want to be nice about it. But instead he's like he stays, and then him and Alex, first of all, Alex is doing like a, oh, today's opening day, blah blah blah, and he is so out of it. He seems so like lost, he's just like, so yeah, this isn't our first time, it's gonna go good. That was basically the like, hey, opening night speech that he
Yeah.
gave.
Yeah.
It's just like, how is everyone else not just like, okay, whatever.
I mean, because of the situation, maybe. Like, maybe it's like, that's the point where he's like, okay, either he's accepting that, yeah, weird shit's happening, or he just feels bad because, like, this isn't how all the other opening days have been, right? All the other opening
Yeah.
days, it was excitement. They had everyone, and they were, but this is like they're barely getting there, and it's just falling
like
apart right in front
Sarah
of them.
is kind of mentally out of it. Paul is in a vegetative state. And every time they had an argument, because they had like 3 arguments throughout the movie, each time Alex was just like, lower your fucking voice, you don't want to scare the actors. So they
Yeah.
were keeping the actors out of the dark. And
Yeah.
it's just like, wow, you're an asshole. Anyway, opening night. I don't think I'm missing anything between those, right?
Not anything important, I don't believe.
Yeah. So opening night happens, and we get to see more footage because they're recording everything on the cameras. They have the handheld camera, they have like a head mounted camera. So they're recording all this, so we see more than what the YouTube video showed us in the beginning. And it actually does a good job of interlacing the YouTube video, going with like, oh, you see this happening and that happening. So you get a little bit more context why the clown is running away, why this one of the staff is running into a back door. I guess pretty much from the basement we'll start with, right? There is a cloaked figure or two, it's kind of hard to tell, in the background. And the girl who is chained up, and they cut her nightgown. It could have just been a nightgown. Like, what she was wearing was fine. I don't know why they had to cut it to show,
It does, but at the same time, like, especially with this group of people, that was the least surprising. That didn't throw me off at all. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, that again, that's why they got like a person who they probably felt would just do kind of, whatever. It's, if you watch, we were just talking about earlier how we watch all these horror, if I've watched horror movies or whatever, that's kind of like a part of it, right? Like,
right, they're young and dumb.
but there's always like sex involved. There's always nudity, whatever, like it's always over the top in that way.
Let's go with the character's age, not the actor's age, because they always skew younger.
Yeah.
Or when it comes, was Alex supposed to be like 23, 25 or something?
I don't know. I didn't think about
Because
it that much more.
he was like, I was just like, yeah, I'm about Alex's age, 30-ish.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like 28 or something.
Uh-huh.
Like, I know better. Like, because they're even like, in the beginning, they're like, we don't have cameras down there. We need someone big because we're going to have a half naked girl down there. And if someone starts like grabbing her or whatever, being rapey, and it's just like, you could have done more. You could have done so much more for her.
Yeah.
And the fact that you didn't is just, it says something about your persons to me.
Yeah.
Because I even wrote it down, like, they could have done so much more. Like I said, like having a key in her hand, having multiple keys, having actual, not that manacle bullshit where it was at pretty much her forearms. That's where it was cuffed, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Instead of like around the wrist, where she would have, like, first of all, that couldn't have been comfortable, but whatever. especially if they're doing like what 8 hour night. They said it starts at 8 p.m. So let's just say they go 2 o'clock in the morning, 5 to 6 hours. It's just like wow, that's shitty. Anyway, so a cloaked figure shows up in the corner. The girl is screaming, This isn't part of this. Help me, help me!" And Joey gets up and runs away.
Immediately, as soon as he sees these figures that are not supposed to be there, and she's screaming, "This is not a part of the show," he just literally gets up and takes off. He's the first one out.
Yeah, and it's just like,
failed
wow,
at his
fuck
job
you.
immediately.
So she's screaming, and because it has so many people in the house, like each tour is maybe like 5 people, and it looks like there's like 5 to 10 like tours in the house though. It felt like a lot.
It was a lot going on. But I understand like panic can take over a group more, like even more easily than like an individual. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it kind of it like becomes like a domino effect, right?
Yeah.
But and I mean, it doesn't help the movie, and this happens in all kinds of horror movies, not just like a low budget one like this. But like the fact that no one helped her, because it was two figures and they're scary, but there's like 20 of you right here, right now. Beat their fucking asses. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell? They just took off. I wonder, is this explained? Like, did they think it was real, or were they just getting so scared that did they think, oh, even though she's screaming, this is not a part of the show? Did they still think it was? But they were like, this is becoming too
Maybe.
much, and everyone's running now, so I'm just gonna run. Like, I'm just like, how do you not? How does nobody do anything?
Well, not only that, there's like weird noises, so maybe like the cloaked figures are summoning something. It's
Hmm.
kind of left vague because the camera runs away from the scene.
Yeah.
And you know, when they were showing the hotel, you see like bloody handprints and stuff. Who the fuck knows what those people did? You know, the cloaked figures. So now they're showing all the things, and they're showing how Sarah's like,
Well, the way people view, like, you know, satanic cults or whatever, like, or like these ones that do, it's like usually there's like sacrifice. So it's like, I don't know that they summon anything. It was just more like they probably sacrificed her, you know?
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah.
it's weird. So they start showing how Sarah went with went to go get Mac. Mac said to go upstairs to the attic where I guess the control center was. Um, Mac's helping people get out. And then I think he also like somehow gets with her, and they go to the attic where you see Alex hanging by
Mm.
a chain that they showed earlier, and he's choking to death. And then more shadowy figures showed up and like attack Mac. And that's where like the camera dropped, but then there's like another camera that Sarah grabs, which was probably more the handheld one. And I'm assuming she grabbed it because it has a light. That is my only guess why she would grab that stupid ass camera.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to the interview, and you know, I don't know, but I wrote down pretty much because she says, "Oh, nothing happened from getting from the attic and leaving," and I'm like, "Huh, weird, creepy ass girl is not a great interview subject because she looks haunted."
Yeah.
Like, I don't even remember if in the beginning of the movie if she looked like that, but she looks like 3 degrees pale.
No, I don't think she did. Or maybe she's just doing a good job of selling like that distant
Yeah.
lost look thing going on. But yeah, she just looks like totally fucked up. Like, and she hasn't recovered at all.
And here's the thing, the interviewer is just like asking like a bunch of questions now, and Sarah the present tense Sarah in the interview is just like, "I'm sorry, I need to rest." Like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, blah blah blah." And she goes like, she gets up after they unmic her and stuff, which was a cute little extra, I think, um, of detail. And but she gets up and she's like, "If you need me, my hotel room is 2C." And then she goes, "Have you been to the house?" First of all, they keep calling it a house instead of a hotel, which is a little odd to me. but they're like, "Have you been to the house?" And they're like, "We've been outside, but we don't really have the permit to get in, and it's kind of boarded up." And Sarah's just like, "Is that the only thing stopping you? You should go in the house." And it's just like, so I wrote down, creepy girl says, "Hey, break into the murder house." Okay.
Yeah, and that's really their reaction because they're just like, "You think? You think we should?" Well, actually, I shouldn't say they. The one interviewing, but there's like the other guy kind of going like, "Should we though?" Like
The one who's like reviewing the tapes is like, "Yeah, sure, do what you want." The like host of, I guess, of the documentary, she's like, "Yeah, fuck it, let's just do it." And the camera guy was just like,
I don't know.
This seems dumb.
Yeah,
Like we should get permission to do, if we were to." But she's like, "Nah, come with me." They go, they ask the hotel staff, like, "Hey, if the girl in 2C comes asking for us, just let her know that we're out for a little bit." And they're like, "We don't have a 2C." So they're like, "Oh, do you have a Sarah at the hotel?" "We don't have a Sarah at the hotel at all." And the camera's guy's like, who kind of just wants to be done for the day, I feel, was just like, "She's probably under a different name. Just, if some girl asks for us, just tell her we're not here." And they leave. And then that's where they start intersplicing footage that the other guy, I think his name is like Michael, because he's reviewing the tapes. He finds a scene where Sarah finds the camera, she's running away, and she finds Paul standing there. And she's like, "Oh my god, Paul, thank God we need to get out of here," blah blah, hugging him. And then she backs up because he's not reacting. And then
and
he,
this is what
I
happens
guess,
between her leaving the attic to the door, right? That's
yeah, yeah,
yeah. I had questions. Like I was kind of confused towards the end there, but yeah, that's
yeah,
okay. So that's that night. Okay.
yeah. So, and then Paul is just like, I guess, knocks the camera out of her hand, pushes her down or some shit. Then you see the camera get picked up, and then you see it being bashed into something that sounds fleshy, which is Sarah. Which, by the way, this reminded me of a scene. I don't know if you ever seen these movies, but Grave Encounter and Grave Encounter 2.
I haven't.
Those are good movies if those are still available on streaming. It used to be on Netflix. If you liked this movie, I definitely say go watch those, because those are pretty good movies too, and they have a lot of good. It's weird because it's also haunted asylum, but also kind of like architectural, like
Why
fucks
are
with you
you
kind of
watching
movie.
all these scary movies?
I like horror films apparently,
I did not know this.
which is hilarious because I'm a wuss. But I do, and I've been reading horror novels, which we can talk about later, because I want to suggest one to you. Actually, I'll suggest it now, so other people, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, go look up My Heart is a Chainsaw. I'm blanking on the author's name. If I remember to put in the notes, I will. But it's a good movie, and it's all about, it's kind of like a very homage to slasher films, like 80s slasher films. So I'm wondering if you might enjoy that even more, because all it did for me was remind me how good Scream was. I'm like, yeah, Scream's a really good fucking movie. But it's talking about all these niche kind of references and stuff like that. Anyway,
Niece.
shut that will be follow our YouTube channel. That's all I'm gonna say for that. Anyway, he beats the shit out of Sarah. He puts the camera down, and you see Sarah's face, and it's all bloodied up, and it gets dragged away. But you still see the guy's like, um, uh, pants legs. So it's not him pulling her away. And then it kind of does it show like a transformation of like Paul turning into Sarah or some shit. Like, no,
What?
I imagine that. Okay, that's fine.
If that happened, I did not see it.
But I guess like he walks away, and back at the hotel where the interviewer is like walking through, they get a phone call from the guy reviewing the tapes, and they ignore it. They're like, "Oh, we'll talk to him when we get back. Who cares?" Because the girl is so into this. I'm like, "Wow, you really like haunted house kind of stuff." But I also wrote down She is really jolly in a place where people recently died. Like, there is still bloodstains. No one came and cleaned up the place.
It reminded me of what's the character, the reporter from the Scream movies though.
Oh, yes, yes. That,
Yeah.
okay,
Like super
maybe.
into it. This is what's gonna get her famous. You know, this is the story she needs.
Yeah, maybe that was what was going on.
Partially, but you're right though. It just seemed like she was really into it too, though. Like
Yeah.
she was like, "This is so cool."
Yeah, yeah. Like playing with all the mannequins and playing and touching the piano. And it's just like, there's probably blood on that fucking piano. What the fuck? So they can't find a way to the basement because it's blocked off. Just like debris. Who knows why? So they're walking around trying to find other ways around the hotel, and they find 2C, and it's a locked door from the outside, which to me is already weird. What kind of fucking hotel is this? Did that not strike you as weird, or is this now striking you as weird right now?
No, I mean, it didn't strike me as weird only because, like you're saying, what kind of hotel is this? But it's an abandoned hotel. Like that was probably not there back when it was a hotel. You know, this is the satanic cult that's taken over this hotel has probably put that there. You know.
Yeah. So the camera guy is like, no, we need to get the fuck out of here. There's no way she's in there. This is creepy. We need to get the fuck out of here. I did. We're not here to go into that room. And the interviewer is just like, well, I am. Unlocks it, opens the door, and sees Sarah sitting there, staring out a window. And they're like, Sarah, honey, are you okay? And she turns around and you see the bloody face. They're like, what the fuck? Door closed. There's now two figures into the room, and they start screaming. End credits.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The bloody face, was that new blood or was that from like, did it look like from when she was beaten? Because I was so
It was,
confused.
I think it was when she was beaten.
So I'm like, how did she look so normal? Well, normal, you know, quotes, air quotes.
That may be why I kind of had it in my head like there was some kind of double ganger kind of thing going on. Like that wasn't her in the interview. But the one in that room might have been the real one.
Hmm.
Or the real one might have died that night. Who knows?
That's what I'm saying. It seems like she's like undead or something.
It's very vague, and maybe what happened to Paul happened to her.
Yeah, because he also, when she found him, he did not look right. And then I'm just saying about staring off, he just looked like dead. Like,
Yeah.
he did not look like himself.
Yeah, that's the movie. The way I thought of this idea was I want you to guess what I would rate it at, but I want to start. How did you feel about the movie overall?
It's kind of mixed because, like, it's not a great movie,
That's fair.
but it's definitely fun to watch once through. And then for me personally, like, I always like have a soft spot for like a movie that's done on a shoestring budget that like anybody could do this. You know what I mean? So it's like the fact that
But also they did a really good job to make it seem somewhat professional.
yeah, like
in my
yeah,
opinion.
I would have watched it in theaters and had the same reaction. I wouldn't have been like, "Oh, I can't believe I wasted my money to see this." You know?
Yeah,
Like
I don't know. I've watched a lot of stupid horror movies, and some of them are really fucking bad.
yeah.
Like really fucking bad.
Yeah.
But this one, it felt like, oh, they had like a little casting crew. They went in knowing what the fuck they wanted to do, and I think they did a good job.
Yeah, no, I mean that's my point. Like they did what they wanted to do. They made, you know, it's a decent movie. I'm just saying like you know, it's not like a great movie. It's just
Yeah.
it just what they wanted to do, they got done. I don't know that I would watch it again necessarily, other than maybe like in a situation like that, like you wanted to show me, so then you know you end up rewatching it. But like other than that, I probably wouldn't rewatch it. But there's I keep thinking about that director's cut now because I'm like, there's still too much at times in this, even though they were able to cut it down to 90 minutes, you know, and not enough
Yeah.
in other things, you know, because
Yeah.
like, so I know that part of it is like the mystique, like that makes it scary, but I wanted to know more in the end about what was happening, you know, and the whole thing is, I don't know, you know, like, they have like, actually it's not end credits because it cuts to like, you know, like those final lines on a black screen, like text where it's like telling you like, you know, this was never explained, or so that's the thing. They say it's unexplainable. And I'm like, that's a cop out. So this wasn't a documentary, like, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't like, if it was okay. So as a movie, a horror movie, it's successful. If this was a real world documentary, it'd be fucking useless. Like, I would get nothing out of this. You know what I mean? But like, you made this to scare me, not to give me answers. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And like, if you're gonna do a documentary, I feel like you need some answers. You know? And I guess like you just got to chalk it up to like, yeah, it was some kind of cult, and that was it. You know? But yeah, but how is Sarah like undead? Like, okay, they did a ritual. But then you had the question where you think like she might have been a double like during the interview. It's like, okay, well, what was going on there? Like, I don't know. Just like little things that it's just like,
Yeah.
what the heck? Okay. No, another thing. Why was she speaking in a different language in that whole situation if they hadn't gotten to her before the end of the before the end of the haunt, you know, or when it got shut down? Like that was weird, you know?
Yeah, she seems to be like in the middle of being possessed, but not fully there.
It's just see, I guess the thing is like you're just throwing a bunch of random things that are known to be a part of like horror movies and like some kind of ritual. Like again, their understanding of like this stuff is minimal. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, we're just gonna have rituals of some kind where it's gonna be satanic in some way. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's all just like vague, kind of just enough. But I don't know. I said, I still give it a lot of credit. Like they just went in there with like a small group of people and they made a movie. It's a movie. It's a successful movie.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, so successful, it got 2 sequels. And so before I get too much into my own opinion, I want you to guess what I would rate it. Now, I normally rate things in a 5-point scale with 0.5s.
Yeah. Well, before I get to that, I guess just more about the movie itself is just, I do wish I liked the characters more. Because then I might have not cared about, I wouldn't have had time to think about all these little details because I would have just been so worried for them. You know what I mean? So it's like, it goes to what you were telling me about Jaws, right? If you have them that 75% of the way, the rest of it doesn't matter, you know? So they didn't have me, the 75%. It took a while for me to get into it. It was more like that first scare where I was really like, oh shit, okay, they're doing something here. Because it was actually scary, you know? And then from there on, I feel like the movie rolls and then it just kind of ends before I kind of was satisfied with what was happening. You know what I mean? And then as far as like a score, like, wait, my score? I feel weird. Like,
if you don't feel comfortable saying a score for yourself,
you said on a scale of 5.
Guess mine.
Well, I guess I would give it, and this is not a bad. You know, my views on scores have like changed a bit, right? So I think I would
reason
give it,
why I go with a 5-point scale. I think it makes more sense in my head. Why?
What is the reason though? If you have 0.5s?
My 0.5 have always been, let's just say I gave something a 2, which means it's mediocre, but there was something there.
Yeah.
Not enough to make it a 3, but there was something there. So that's my like reviewer tilt. At 0.5 to just be like, there's
but
there's
I'm
something
saying,
here. Listen to me.
I mean, this isn't what this video is about, but I guess I think I've tried to get this answer from you before and you've never really explained it. Is if you're going to have 0.5s though, why wouldn't you just have a 10-point scale with no 0.5s?
Because I think it's too granular, you know?
But it's literally the same. You have a 10-point scale, technically.
But the way I see it is the 0.5s are like this extra thing. I can't say like 3s are rarely used. I use a 2, you know, I mainly use 2, 4, 6, you know, and only like those other numbers are like rarely used.
Yeah.
Instead, the 0.5 is just this thing I rarely, not rarely use, but there needs to be a reason in my hearts of hearts to give it a 0.5. Like there's just something here I cherish.
Okay. Well, on that scale, I guess for me, it'd be like a 2.5. Because like I said, I don't think it's like a great movie. It does what it needs to do. It's good. And like, that's where like why I would put the 0.5 is like, I appreciate what they were able to do. They gave me scares. I had a good time. But like I said, the way I would review something now is different than when we used to like do stuff like this. So like that's still not a bad score from me.
No.
Like before, that would have been a bad score the way I used to
Yeah.
do it, you know. But like 2.5 is like it was good. It was a good time, and I would tell someone to watch. Actually, I did tell someone to watch it. I was
Oh,
talking to
good.
Chris, and I told him like I don't remember how we started talking about anything horror related, but I was like, I just watched this movie Hell House LLC, and then I told him one of the main reasons I liked it was because it is this independent movie where they just it's like it's not quite one location, but it's essentially a one location
Oh, yeah.
thing. So I was like, that's impressive to me, so like I enjoyed that. And then I don't know, like I don't know if you would also give it a 2.5 or if you would give it a 3. But is it higher? Or did you love this movie? Like, are you at like 3.5, 4? Like, you're just gonna have to tell me because
All right. I think I would. I was going between a 3 and a 3.5, and I think I might go with 3.5 because they could have done a very cheap scares, but all the scares felt so good. Like the clown in the hallway, the girl, that was the scariest part, that girl just sitting in that room. The scares aren't even, I don't know, you know how like there's some movies, like I recently watched the first Chucky because I'm trying to figure out why I'm so scared of that stupid fucking doll.
Mhm.
Um and I think I realized I never watched the first Chucky. But throughout the movie, I'm just waiting because everyone who sees that movie knows what it is. It's a doll coming to life.
Mhm.
Um, I assume that's even from like when it was first released. I don't know if they kept that a secret or not. But throughout the whole movie, you're just like the anticipation of the doll actually doing something on camera. Where here, it's just like I'm waiting for something scary. I'm waiting for something scary, but I'm also kind of into this group dynamic. I don't like anyone. I feel bad for Sarah. And actually, the reason why I'm like Paul is such a main character is because I went from hating Paul to being, um, like feeling bad for him, and then very concerned for him. I'm like, why do you guys not care about Paul?
Yeah. I I guess. Well, first off, did you have it as a 3 before you rewatched it? Like that's kind of what you came into it with, and then it's bumped up to a 3.5 now.
Yeah, I
Actually.
think I think I went into it the first time it was 3 and then watching it again it was a 3.5. And even though I knew I pretty much remembered all the scares, they still got me, which was funny.
Yeah. No. Look. It is a horror movie, and the first things you mentioned was like the scares. That's why I'm like, it's successful. But where you said like, oh, I'm into this character dynamic, even though I don't like the character, that I guess I need to someone. I needed someone to like be able to anchor myself, and Paul becomes that person, but I don't like him. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I wish I did. Like they could have done just like little things where I'm like more invested in his character, because like
Yeah.
they wrapped me in, so that's why again it's successful. But like I wish that was like from the beginning. I wish like I cared from the beginning. And when Paul gets out of the picture, I didn't think we were going to see Paul again. And I was surprised when he came back, and I was like, that was kind of exciting, even though it doesn't really, like you said, in a vegetative state until we see him
Yeah.
in that tape. I kind of was able to move on, even though it was like, how was everyone else moving on? Like they're moving on. Eventually I did too. You know what I mean? Like I wish I was more attached to any one of these characters. It could have been Paul. It could have been Sarah. It could have been, you know what I mean? Like if the actress, was a character, she wasn't a character in this movie.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
Sarah could have had a much larger plot, but she was always kind of in the background.
Well, I'm not even talking about
Um
Sarah. I'm talking about the actress, like the hired actress.
oh,
So
Sam?
yeah, like I could have felt so much worse if she was a character.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like
she was nothing. But honestly, and maybe this comes from the second viewing. I'm just because I know what happens. I was just like this poor fucking girl. And again, in my head, I'm like she's like 17 or something because she looks so young,
but
even though she's probably like
imagine if they just
25.
give her like one good scene, like because the scenes that they have her in, where she's like excited, like that could have been, you could have done more. Just give her a couple lines where it's like, why is she doing this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and like make you be like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, and then
Yeah.
they take that and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, fuck you. You know, it's just little things like that that I think could have made it a 3, at least on the first view. Like you went from a 3 to a 3.5 after a second view. Maybe I would like it more, but it's like, I wanted to care about some of these characters a little bit more. Some of the dialogue was a little like, also the beginning of the movie was just like, there was things I liked, but it was also kind of a mess. And like, you know, that's why, like, there was stuff that I was laughing about, and you know, you were like, you know, you don't think it was intentional. I think I like that stuff more if it was intentional, and I hope it was. And the only reason why I say that is because like there was stuff that okay, this had to be intentional. When they were like the tragedy, the YouTube clip, and the things that like the camera would focus on, and like they would like slow it down and make it somber. Remember they show the kitchen rack falling over, and then it just like boom. It's like a sad like, oh, that had to be on purpose. Like that was funny and it had to be on purpose, you know? So I hope that there was a little bit like, you know, humor into the, you know, decisions that they were making in the beginning. I just wish that also could have maybe kept up a little bit more. Like you can cut the horror with comedy, you know? It's just, but once the horror starts, it becomes like serious. And I don't have a problem with that either. You can do that, but I'm just saying like you had to do something to, at least for me, you know, to keep me like at that like peak engagement, I guess, in the movie. Like it had, the highs were high, you know, I was like, this is great stuff, but there's a lot of stuff in between, and definitely at the beginning where I'm just like, you know, and then also there's the fact, like I said, that it doesn't come together in the end the way I would have hoped. I would have wanted a little bit more, and I don't know if the sequels do anything towards that. I you know, reviews aren't everything, but I saw that the first one is well reviewed and the sequels are not. Like they're terribly reviewed. So I'm kind of like worried, like should I watch the sequel? Have you seen the sequels?
No, I want to before I end my Shudder subscription.
Okay. So I don't know. That's just where I'm at. I just wanted some more character development, or a couple more answers, or a little bit of a few more things, just like, you know, either if not expanded upon, just cleaned up a bit. Like just some lines just could have really not made me cringe. And then that would have made maybe a world of difference, you know? I don't know.
So I watched this movie. I made a list of horror movies to watch, and I think it was one of the better ones. There weren't. First of all, half of these are not even horror films, but let me just read out the ones I did watch. Hell House LLC, Channel Zero, which is a television show on Shudder. It was also on Sci-Fi. If you ever get Shudder, that's something to watch. It's not bad. Host on Shudder, and I feel like I watched something else. Oh, the Blair Witch Project. Which, have you ever watched that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm very curious now, especially with some of the stuff you said about this movie. What are your feelings about that movie?
I honestly, I'll have to rewatch it because I watched it like back when it came out. I remember liking it, but I was also much younger. But I remember like being kind of freaked out, and then also being obsessed with how they did it with nothing. You know, like
Yeah.
I think that was probably one of the first movies where I was like, you can do that. You can just grab a camera and film nothing and make it compelling, and then I think that was the most profitable movie ever made at one point, if it's still not.
Definitely. At one point, it was.
Yeah.
Well, I ended up watching that, and I watched that on Halloween, and it was me and my mom was home, and she was trying to get me to watch the new Michael Myers movie, but I was like, we have to pay for this separate thing, blah blah blah. She's like, well, I'm telling her I want to watch the Blair Witch Project. She's like, well, I don't want to watch that. It was a bad movie. I'm like, okay. I watched it, and I completely understand why she did not like it, because it does not. She wanted like a monster. She wanted to see something.
Yeah.
And that whole movie, there is nothing. It's just, it's up to you to decide, is there really a witch?
Yeah, I vaguely remember. Again, I really need to rewatch it because like I really don't remember a lot, but I do remember that point, and that's the difference I think between that and this though, is because this there is something for sure. They just don't want to tell you what it is, you know,
Right.
because they don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Because I guess it shows just enough.
Yeah.
Um, and and just to get my thoughts out on Blair Witch Projects, I liked it. I understood completely why my mom did not.
Mm-hmm.
I remember going to bed, and because I work the night shift, I go to bed during the day, and I was just creeped the fuck out. I was closing my eyes, and you know how you have that feeling of like, I can't go to bed. Something's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
I
I
had
mean,
that. I had that feeling.
that's good. I mean, that to Hell House LLC's credit, Michelle had that feeling because we watched it before I had to go to sleep to go to work, and I work overnight. She was like texting me, calling me when I was at work. She was like, "I just don't want
Oh.
to." Like, she's like, I don't want to leave the room. She's like, I don't want to open a door. Like, so like, it was scary. It's just, yeah.
How is she with horror in general, or is this
Terrible.
just
It's so funny
okay?
too because when I met her, she I don't know who she thought she was, but she was like, "Oh, I want to watch horror movies every Halloween." Like for like the first 2 years, she was like, "Oh, we don't watch horror movies on Halloween." Like she was complaining about it. Third year, or I think it was third year, I was like, "All right, we're gonna watch horror movies." Like 2 horror movies in, she was like, "I don't want to do this anymore."
Oh,
And so now I try to get her to watch like one, This year we actually watched more than one because I got her to watch Nightmare on Elm Street. And so we went through the series. We didn't do all of it. We did 1, 2, 3, and then Wes Craven's New Nightmare because I feel like that's all you need to watch. And she thought the movies were great, but she was also like, I don't know how much I can take. And I was like, well, we only have one more or two more. The third one, have you watched Nightmare on Elm Street?
it's been a while.
But like more than the first, or
I've definitely seen more than the first, but I've
because
can't
like
tell you which ones I've seen.
all right, because like the original trilogy is, I think, good, but the third one's like almost like a fantasy film, not just a horror
I
film.
think I definitely saw that one because it's kind of like the actor. Like, is that the one? Like, there's a painting of Freddy.
The one where it's the actors, it's Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, the one I'm talking about is like a fantasy because the like protagonists, like they learn to like control like their dreams a bit. Like they each have like a ability in the dreams, and that's how they like team up against Freddy. No, it's good. It's good. I'm telling you.
Okay.
I'm telling you, it's the second best one. I think it goes like the original, that one, which is it's called Dream Warriors or something like that. Anyways, but it's the first one, the third one, and then the one you were talking about, which is Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Those are like my 3 favorite ones. Getting sidetracked, but
Yeah, well, that's us then. It's nutshell. Yeah, so let's just bring it back to the movie. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
not really. I do have a quick because you brought up Blair Witch Project. Like, again, I was younger. I don't know how I feel about it now, but were the performances better in Blair Witch than they were in this?
I'm not the best one to ask that.
Okay, because I feel like I don't know if it's true, but that's what I feel. I feel like when I watched it, I bought them so much more. In this one, like the person who does the best job is Paul, and that's why you care.
Yeah.
Because you believe it. You believe, oh man, he's in a nightmare situation. He knows it. Nobody believes him, and that's shitty, And it's supposed to be his friends.
Yeah, especially like when you're thinking about other like horror films, there's like a group of people who are being fucked with, and then no one else believes them. But when it's just a singular person, it's just like, oof. Especially when all these other people are witnessing these things,
Yeah, and they're just
It'd be different. Like they called the cops one night. The cops came and went like, "It's a dummy, or oh, what's wrong with you kids?" Like, but yeah. So yeah, I think we said everything we wanted to say about Hell House LLC. I think it's a good movie. I would actually recommend it to if you didn't watch it and listen to this, you're crazy. But I would probably recommend this movie to like people. I think it would be really good as like a group movie, you and like 5 other people just watching it, maybe talking shit at parts and then,
yeah.
the horror happens. Or even just like maybe for some people who are not so into the horror, watching horror movies in general, I don't think it's that bad. Like it really has one or two really like oh, like a lot of the scares are kind of like quick. The girl scene and everything else is kind of like just slow played. Like Sarah, there's like some moments where you see she's like not herself. Oh, one of the things I actually want to talk about, I had a theory that Alex was in on the house. He became part of the cult before all this. Like he
Hmm.
was looking for a haunted house. He found Abaddon Hotel. He's checking it out, and whatever cult or whatever demons, whatever, like didn't possess him like to the extent that Sarah and Paul did, but maybe manipulated him to have everything there, to ignore everything, and then when everything happened on the night, because what the cult or whatever it was, the shadow figures, what they wanted was a sacrifice, and they wanted as many people as possible. That is my like headcanon of why this happened.
So that's a you just reminded me that a bunch of people died. Do we see that other than the actress and I and like Paul? Like, we don't see any of like the guests like actually die, do we?
No, the most we see is like people screaming, the bloody handprints and the blood on the floor. And it's in the beginning it says multiple fatalities, which you could just say, oh, that could be all the staff, because only one staff made it out of there alive. Presumably, we found out that Sarah survived.
Oh, this is just a random thing because I mentioned it earlier and I was like, I'll wait till the end. Where I was like trying to figure out, is this like a completed documentary? What's the deal with this documentary? Because at the end, I mean, this
Yeah,
is where
we
you brought
talked
up
about it.
yeah, it specifically says that the public still doesn't know. And I'm like, well, if I'm watching a documentary on it, it's available for everyone. Like, I don't understand.
Maybe it got put on YouTube. It got like 200 views. It's like good horror film, good fan film. Maybe that's like the take they take. I don't
Who
know.
got the final tape from the interviewer and her cameraman?
That's the thing. Who knows? Maybe because the house wants more people. This is kind of taking from Grave Encounters, but um, maybe the house sent it to the cameraman. Who knows? Or that's the disbelief of stupid horror films.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was Hell House LLC. I think it's really good. Go check it out. Maybe as a bonus video on YouTube or as a bonus podcast. Probably not tonight. You and me can watch the trailers for Hell House 2 and 3 and just get some opinions. I've seen bits and pieces, let's just say, of Hell House 2, and mm, yeah.
Okay.
But thank you for listening to us. If you want to follow us, hit subscribe on whatever podcast app you are using. We also have multiple social things, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Go follow those. Instagram will just have funny clips. We also have a TikTok which will have funny clips or clips. Maybe they're not funny. I don't know. We'll also have YouTube, which will have the episodes on in one way or the other, and also bonus scenes. Anyway, thank you for listening, and go review us. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff we probably should have said. There's also, maybe in the beginning we should have mentioned how we were going to spoil the shit out of this movie.
Label it spoiler or something, you know?
Yeah, well, we'll figure that out. I can also probably put a thing in the beginning. But yeah, thanks for watching and have a great day.